On the same day that Rachel Morren's killer, illegal alien Victor Martinez Hernandez, was found guilty on all 4 counts of kidnapping, raping, and then murdering an innocent mother of 5 children who will never have their mom again, it took the jury just 46 minutes. Rachel Morren, who was from Maryland, on the same day that her killer, that man, was found guilty of murder, the senior senator from her state, Maryland, Chris Van Hollen, who I'm sure you've never heard of before, said this.
If I don't hear from him and Abrego Garcia is not quickly returned, I do intend to go to El Salvador this week to show solidarity with his family.
Meaning on the same day that Rachel Morren's killer was found guilty, the most senior politician from her state went on CNN and said that he was going to fly to El Salvador to show solidarity with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, another illegal alien who was just deported from Maryland to El Salvador. He didn't go to visit Rachel Morren's grave today. He's not going to be spending Easter with her 5 kids this weekend in solidarity. He's not going to be with her kids who are going to be orphans forever. She's got an 8-year-old little boy who's going to be an orphan forever. Instead, he boarded a plane and flew to Central America to beg for the return of an illegal alien gang member. If that doesn't upset you, I don't know what is, but that is your Democratic Party today. And it's not just Democrats in Washington. Democrats in the media are just as lost, and they can't seem to understand why an illegal alien, a criminal, was sent back to where he came from.
He doesn't get to stay here. He doesn't get to live here. He has no future here. He has no right to be here. He's an illegal alien. So when you keep saying return, because you've been spun up by the open borders advocates, you all seem to be operating under the illusion that he would be able to come to the United States and just continue to live here illegally. That's not an option available to him. His only choices in life are to live in El Salvador or to live in another country. That's it. There's no other option, legally or otherwise, because he came to our country illegally. Do you understand that?
They don't understand that, but he's exactly right. That's Stephen Miller. I would say he's exactly right if he worked for Joe Biden, because he is correct. And what Democrats don't seem to get is that people like Kilmar Abrego Garcia and Rachel Morren's killer do not belong here. Kilmar Abrego Garcia was here illegally, meaning that he can be deported anytime for whatever reason back to where he came from. America is not his country. I don't care how long he's been here. I don't care if he's been here for 50 years. This is not your country. Kilmar is not a U.S. citizen. It's as simple as that legally. That's not emotional, that's legal. Elizabeth Warren tweeting that if President Trump can wrongly deport a Maryland father to a prison in El Salvador and defy a Supreme Court order to bring him home, who's next? Well, Lizzie, I have a couple little Lizzie issues with your little Lizzie tweet once again. The first, that Maryland father that you're talking about is also accused of being an MS-13 gang member who's here illegally. Again, not an American citizen. And second, isn't it just a little bit dishonest for someone who claimed to be an Indian for her entire career, to advance her career, to claim that this guy is just a Maryland father and not a criminal, illegal gang member who's also a member of MS-13? We think it is. But that's what Democrats in Washington have become. And this is what CNN has always been.
These millionaire media pundits on TV clutching their pearls about someone standing a murderer when this is the United States of America, as if we don't lionize criminals, as if we don't have, we don't stand murderers of all sorts, and we give them Netflix shows. The women who got her outside court in New York. So you're going to see women especially that feel like, oh my God, right? Like here's this man who's revolutionary, who's famous, who's handsome, who's young, who's smart. He's a person that seems this morally good man, which is hard to find.
Yeah, what you just saw was a guest on CNN referring to Luigi Mangione, the man that shot the CEO of United Healthcare, a father of 2 in cold blood on the streets of New York City last winter. She just referred to him, and I want to get this right, as a, quote, young, famous, handsome, smart, revolutionary, morally good man. a cold-blooded killer is being celebrated on CNN as a morally good man, and that was a pre-produced package, meaning executives let that air. Meaning that people like Luigi Mangione are just like criminal illegal aliens. At least that's the way they're being covered by the legacy media. That's how CNN handles stories like that. Killers, illegal aliens, college students who support Hamas are now handsome, smart revolutionaries.
Do you plan to ask President Bukele to help return the man who your administration says was mistakenly deported? The man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador?
Well, let me ask Pam, would you answer that question?
Sure, President. First and foremost, he was illegally in our country. He had been illegally in our country. And in 2019, two courts, an immigration court and an appellate immigration court, ruled that he was a member of MS-13 and he was illegally in our country. Right now, it was additional paperwork had needed to be done. That's up to El Salvador if they want to return him. That's not up to us.
El Salvador has made it clear they will not be returning him. According to over 1,000 registered voters, Donald Trump's approval rating right now is at 54%. That's the highest it has ever been this term or his first term. But the poll was conducted by the Daily Mail. And because the legacy media don't take the Daily Mail seriously, they don't take this poll seriously. They think the Daily Mail is, for whatever reason, trash beneath them. And they've been doing that for decades. And they're wrong. In the early 1990s, it was a little-known supermarket tabloid called Star magazine. And Star was the very first to report that Governor Bill Clinton of Arkansas had slept with many women who were not named Hillary Clinton. But the legacy media wouldn't dare report that story because it came from a supermarket tabloid. But just like the Daily Mail, that supermarket tabloid ended up being right. But America, because they didn't have this information verified, still decided to elect Bubba in 1992, and we all know how that went.
I want to say one thing to the American people. I want you to listen to me. I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. I never told anybody to lie, not a single time, never.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did, Bill. You most certainly did. And 1,000 years from now, you will be remembered for that first. Back to Rachel Morren and the senior senator from her home state of Maryland, Chris Van Hollen, who I'd never heard of because he doesn't do anything in the Senate, except for go to El Salvador, by the way. He actually went through with it today. He never once reached out to the family of Rachel Morren, even when this was all going on. And Maryland's a small state. Instead, he boarded a flight today to El Salvador to bring an illegal alien criminal gang member back to the United States.
The goal of this mission is to let the Trump administration, to let the government of El Salvador know that we are going to keep fighting to bring Abrego Garcia home until he returns to his family. I hope to meet with representatives of the government. I hope to have the chance to actually see Kilmar and see what his condition is. But we are going to keep fighting because this is a miscarriage of justice. What bullies do is they begin by picking on the most vulnerable. But if we get rid of the rule of law and due process in the United States, it's a short road from there to tyranny.
Bullies pick on the most vulnerable. Let me take you through the most vulnerable. Rachel Morren, 37 years old, was out for a jog on a trail that she's been walking on with her mother for more than 20 years, just north of Baltimore, when that man right there, Victor Martinez Hernandez, jumped out of the woods, bashed her skull in with a stone, and then raped her as she died repeatedly, and then discarded her body in a ditch. But according to Senator Chris Van Hollen, Rachel is not the most vulnerable among us. He cares more about illegal aliens like that right there than he does about the actual Americans who live in his state, and he proved that by his actions today. AOC just tweeted, Kilmar Abrego Garcia has been sitting in an El Salvador prison for over a month because the Trump administration made a mistake. If we allow Trump to violate Kilmar's rights, none of our rights are safe. Kilmar is all of us. He is not all of us. Kilmar is not me. He is not Jocelyn Nungary. He is not Laken Riley. He's not Rachel Morren, and he's not you either, because he's not an American citizen. Okay, he's an illegal alien. And the only thing these illegals have done is kill more innocent Americans who should be alive today, something that Rachel Morren's mother tried to point out today to the media.
To have a senator from Maryland who didn't even acknowledge or barely acknowledge my daughter and the brutal death that she endured so that he can use my taxpayer money to fly to El Salvador to bring back someone that's not even an American citizen. Please tell the truth. Exactly. Tell the truth. Yeah. Tell how violent it really is. This is about protecting our children. It's more than just politics or votes or just anything. It's about national security, protecting Americans, protecting our children.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.